like your new RAV4.
Thanks, yours too.
What does RAV stand for anyway?
To me, it's the Remarkably Advanced Vehicle.
Really? To me, it's the runway-approved vehicle for its amazing style.
What about Remarkably Adaptable Vehicle because of its versatile cargo space?
Or really admired vehicle?
Oh, or Really Awesome Vehicle.
It really is the recreational activity vehicle. The stylish 2026 Toyota RAV4 Limited. What's your RAV4?
Have no fear, Chosen Foods is here to defend your favorite foods from the forces of seedy oils and sketchy ingredients. With cooking oils, salad dressings, and mayo, all powered by the good fats from 100% pure avocado oil and simple, delicious ingredients. Chosen Foods.
A girl Ashton Kutcher was seeing was murdered by a serial killer, but this was unknown for quite a while, and Ashton Kutcher was actually a murder suspect in this case. In 2001, Ashton went to go pick up Ashley Ellerin, his date, an acquaintance that he'd been seeing for a while. When he got to her house, he didn't hear her come to the door. He was knocking. He was looking for her. He called her. This was back like in the early days of cell phones. He looks through a window, and he sees what he later told police he believed was spilt red wine because there had been a party there the night before, and he just thought it was, just leftover mess from the party. She didn't come to the door. She was a fashion model. With a very busy lifestyle. He just thinks that, hey, I'll talk to her later. He gets back into his car. He calls her 4 more times over the night, and he actually called Danny Masterson, his buddy from That 70s Show. And this is when Ashton Kutcher was on That 70s Show, by the way. And he kind of tells him the rundown, and he goes back over there the next morning, and that's when he figures out that she had been murdered. And he's flipping out. So Ashton Kutcher was a suspect at this time because everybody knows that they were supposed to go on a date that night that she was murdered. And his fingerprints on the door, his fingerprints were all over the place. And it was known that he had intended to be there with her on the last night that anybody supposedly would have seen her alive. And he's the only alibi to his own case of her not going on the date with him. Because the way the police are thinking is they're thinking maybe they did go on the date. Something happened, something went wrong, and he killed her. She was stabbed 47 times. It was a very brutal murder. No one really knew what happened to her for about 7 more years, and then this guy got caught. Michael Gargiulo, which is also known as the Hollywood Ripper. Now, I said 7 more years is when they figured it out, but they really didn't. That's just when this guy got caught, but they still didn't piece that case together for quite some time. In fact, Ashton Kutcher would not get a full assurance in court until 2019. 18 years after the murder happened. So all of this time went by. Ashton Kutcher was always a rumored murder suspect in this case. I've seen this pop up time and time again over the past, 15, 20 years, and I'll still see it pop up every once in a while because people haven't heard the update that in 2019, this case actually got put to bed. And that was because in 2008, this serial killer, one of his victims, escaped, and her name was Michelle. And after they got into like a tussle when he was trying to kill her, she cut his arm, or he cut his own arm in the struggle, and DNA was left at the scene. They were able to match that DNA to, DNA had came a long ways in this time, and they were able to match him to cases all the way back from 1993. So this was a very long-term active serial killer with about 15 years of known active hunting. And that's what I mean when I say like known active hunting, is because the FBI is very clear that serial killers very rarely skip years and years and years between their murders. But the only murders they could definitively tie him to happened in 1993, 2001, which was Ashton Kutcher's date, and 2005, and then the attempted murder in 2008. Now, if you notice 2001, 2005, 2008, those are semi-believable, just a few years apart. But the big jump from 1993 to the early 2000s, they do not believe is plausible. They think there is many more that he is responsible for that they've just never tied him to and never matched him to. So let's talk about those killings. In 1993, he killed Tricia Pacquiao. Now, he was a suspect not only in Tricia's case, but also in the 2005 case. So he was a murder suspect in both these cases, but the police could not prove anything, to actually get him and put him in prison. They couldn't tie him to anything at all. At the time, the DNA evidence wasn't good enough to tie him to that scene. And they really, to tell you the truth, don't even have the proof that he did the 1993 murder. He has since admitted to it. But what happened was he was Tricia's neighbor. That is why he was a suspect in the first place, is because he was her neighbor, and I think people had reported seeing him, like, trying to make conversation with her or watching her from afar. There was some kind of interaction level that was mentioned there from other witnesses. And I have to take back a statement I just made about how he admitted to these crimes. He actually has never admitted to any of this. He says that all of the detectives are using tunnel vision to frame him, and they're using circumstantial evidence to frame him. But apparently in multiple interviews, as recent as like just a few years ago, he has claimed that he is 100% innocent to this day. Did not know that. Sorry for misspeaking. I'm about to throw this whole case out the window because I just realized I made another mistake. In 1993, they did find DNA evidence to tie him to it, but it wasn't good enough yet. They found the DNA evidence in 2003 before he would commit more murders. They knew that his DNA matched Trisha's all the way back in 1993. In 2003, they had a 100% match, but because of technicalities, they could not charge him because they mislabeled the thing and they could not see if the swab for the DNA was taken underneath her fingernails or on top of her fingernails, which is very different because of them being neighbors. If they'd have had any kind of casual contact, like shaking a hand or, just coming into contact with them at all, the DNA would have been on top of the fingernails. But if it was a struggle, it would have been underneath her fingernails. And because somebody did not properly label this DNA swab, they couldn't arrest him. My mind is blown. I just keep looking more into this stuff up while I'm sitting here talking to y'all, and I just keep getting more frustrated. We knew this man was a killer. He was a suspect in 2 different... what are we thinking? We knew in 2003 that the DNA 100% matched to him, to somebody who was dead. And fast forward in 2005, he was also a suspect in that case, and he still didn't get arrested? What are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing? I'm trying to calm back down. Let's fast forward from 1993 to 2001 and how he was connected to Trisha. So apparently he just did odd random jobs, like a handyman type deal. And he had done some odd end jobs for Trisha. And that's how he got to know her, got to know a little bit of her routine and the layout of her house, is because he had done some handyman jobs. So that was it. He targeted her from this job, which is why I think there was way more murders in between 1993 and 2001, is because if he was doing this handyman type job where he'd be in and out of people's houses and there was no way to pin him down in his locations, police don't know where he was in those time periods. You know what I'm saying? If somebody works at that hospital, they're going to be at that hospital for their 12-hour shift or their 10-hour shift or whatever. But a handyman, they might do some work on that house or this house or whatever. So that's why he had all these perfect excuses of why he was around houses and around different areas and always moving and going. I think he picked out way more people, and I think he has way more victims that we just don't know about. So let's go back to 2005 now. So you're going to notice a pattern here. Okay, so in 2005, he murdered this lady. Her name was Maria Bruno, and guess what? He was also her neighbor. He lived in the apartment complex right next door to her apartment complex, and he would watch her come and go. Apparently, they had no contact that anybody knows of or that can prove. So it looks like it was like a stalker situation where he was just watching her, and they believe that he climbed in through her kitchen window. So I'm guessing the way her building was set up, there was some kind of window there where he was able to get on a balcony and climb through a window that she had actually left open, from what I'm understanding. And this guy must have known that the police were on to him from his earlier DNA stuff, because when he did this murder in 2005, he wore blue surgical booties over his shoes. He wore hairnets and gloves. He wore the whole, he went all out, because he'd learned from his mistakes, because we knew he was a killer. We knew it the whole time. Really, Maria, her murder falls solely on the California Police Department, because we knew, we knew. What were we even doing? And when they were doing the investigation on the 2001 case for Ashley, I know records weren't all digital like they are today, because in 2001, computers are still new. My house didn't even have a computer yet. So, I get it, but shouldn't they have seen some kind of connection there? I just don't understand. Which that brings us to the 2008 murder, or attempted murder, where Michelle did escape him, and in the confrontation, either he cut himself or she cut him. It's unclear. Either way, he left blood on the floor, and that was 100% a match back to the 1993 murder. And Ashley's in 2001. I guess they did a little bit deeper dive on that, and they somehow found some DNA as well back to Ashley's. I was wrong again. This case is going all over the place. They actually never found any direct ties to him killing Ashley in 2001. They just used circumstantial evidence to say that he did it, kind of like they should have in the earlier case. But because they did find the traces of the handyman work later on, like way later on. Like this was not at the time of the investigation. This was way later on. They also looked, and he did live pretty close to Ashley. He wasn't a direct neighbor, but he did live pretty close. And he supposedly did know some of her direct neighbors decently well. Same deal with the handyman job stuff. So that's where the rumor has really spawned from, is because it's still a question mark, I guess, in some people's eyes. Because is it a circumstantial thing in that one case? I don't think so. I really do think that he committed this murder. But it still leaves the open-ended question of, we connected him to these other murders, but we never found any DNA 100% proof that he did kill Ashton Kutcher's date, Ashley. Tonight's was all over the place, guys. I don't know what was going on. I took my ADHD medicine earlier. I know I did. At least I think so. That's a weird thing for them to do to people with ADHD. We don't, like, the one thing ADHD people can't do is stick to a routine. And they say, hey, we got a cure for you. And it's the hardest thing for you to do is to remember to take this pill every single morning, like right when you wake up. And then also, don't forget to eat first. And then also, don't stay out in the sun too much after you've taken it. Okay, like, that's too many rules already. That we're 3 too many rules already for someone with ADHD. Like, that just needs to be they just need to give us a shot, like, once, and it's done. The hardest thing about having ADHD, getting diagnosed with ADHD, was taking that test. You go to them and you say, I think I got ADHD. And they're like, well, hey, why don't you fill out this hour and 45-minute long survey? That way we can see if you have ADHD. The only way you should be able to pass that test is to not complete it and then just get up and leave the office. And they'd be like, oh, yeah, stop him. He's got it. Like that.
Hey, it's Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. Now, I was looking for fun ways to tell you that Mint's offer of unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month is back. So I thought it would be fun if we made $15 bills. But it turns out that's very illegal. So there goes my big idea for the commercial. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan required. $15 per month equivalent. Taxes and fees extra. Initial plan term only. Greater than 50 gigabytes may slow when network is busy. See terms.
That was one of the dumbest things I've ever gone through my entire life. Anyhow, if you enjoyed these videos, follow our podcast, follow our Facebook, our TikTok, our Apple Podcast, and our Spotify is Matt from Nomads. MATT from Nomads. There will be a link in the comments. Our Facebook and our TikTok is Nomads Animal Encounter, and our Instagram and YouTube is Nomads Animal Reserve. We hope to see you on one of those platforms. Hopefully, it's all of them except for TikTok. TikTok, you're sucking right now, buddy. Jack Black comes from one of the most intelligent families in American history and world history, for that fact. So yeah, he's a goofy comedian and he's funny, and you would never imagine that his brother is a genius. His dad is a genius, his mom is a genius, and Jack Black himself has a IQ level of, like, Albert Einstein. Like, they're all geniuses in their own way. His mom actually is one of the lead scientists that, like, created, like, the missiles that we use today in missile guidance systems. She was also, like, solely responsible for the Apollo 13 mission success. Wild. And his dad made something called, the Hubble Space Telescope. It might be kind of a big deal. Like, his parents are freaking geniuses. And then his brother also, I believe, works on, like, NASA missile guidance systems as well. Rowan Atkinson, that plays Mr. Bean famously, is also a genius. He's got an IQ of 170, which is crazy high. And then Conan O'Brien. Conan O'Brien actually graduated magna cum laude, or whatever that weird word is, from Harvard University, and was actually one of the presidents of the Harvard clubs there, called Harvard Lampoon. I don't know what that is. So, I mean, there's a lot of comedians that are, like, just super mega smart people, and these characters they play are definitely just that. They're characters. They're curated for a specific audience, a specific, market. Look at Larry the Cable Guy. Everybody used to love Larry the Cable Guy. Have you ever watched him do an interview out of character when he's not Larry the Cable Guy? I'm about to blow your mind a little bit, and it's going to hurt your feelings. Larry the Cable Guy, his real name is Daniel Whitney, and he literally went to college for drama and theatrics. That is a character that he curated and studied and made over years. And whenever he's doing the Larry the Cable Guy thing, he is not laughing with the rednecks. He is laughing at the rednecks. Like, he's a great guy. He's really cool. But, like, his whole thing was not for his audience. It was literally about his audience. This guy was famous and worth millions and had absolutely no idea. This is the story of Sixto Rodriguez, and you can actually watch the documentary In the Search of Sugar Man to see this full story. But I just first heard it the other day, and it's just so wild. So this dude, back in 1970, was working construction. He was playing music on the side in a bar in Detroit, just for fun. A bigwig record label heard him singing, and they go, oh my God, this guy could be the next Bob Dylan. They sign him up. They pay him a little bit of money up front, but it's mainly going to be based off the records that he sells. So he did 2 records, one in 1970 and one in 1971. And they were both completed roughly around the same time and released around the same time. And it bombed. It did awful. It sold almost nothing in the United States. Like, no one heard of it. The marketing was awful. It just didn't do well. At that time, there was a lot of competition in the early 1970s. Like, tons of big names were out there. So it just went under the radar. He continued to work construction, and he just played music on the side here and there. Fast forward 30 years, like late 1990s, early 2000s, his daughter finds this weird website that's based in South Africa, and it is talking about the search for Sugar Man, and that's what they called Sixto Rodriguez. He had no idea. Apparently, some of his records made it to South Africa. Now, at the time, South Africa was very closed off. They did not get a lot of information in their country. They did not get a lot of popular music from the rest of the world. So somehow, when his album made it there, people started making copies of it and selling it like crazy. So much so that in South Africa, he was more famous than the Beatles. He was more famous than Elvis. He was this cultural icon. And he had no idea. He's working construction every day, dying out, working hard, busting his butt. And overseas, he has sold hundreds of thousands of copies of his record in the 1970s alone, not including the 80s and 90s, which now it's like 1999 when his daughter finds this. And she gets in contact with the record store owner there. And the record store owner had been obsessed with the search for Sugar Man because there was rumors in South Africa that this guy rose to stardom in the United States and then he killed himself, or he rose to stardom and then he got into drugs and accidentally had an overdose. There's all these rumors of why only those 2 records existed and no more records existed from him. They thought that he had died. They didn't get any news from the outside world. They had no idea. So when this record owner goes, "You're his daughter? What happened to him? How did he die?" And she goes, "He's still alive." The record owner says, "Oh my gosh, he has to come to South Africa. I'll organize him to play some shows." So this guy was, Sixto Rodriguez is very excited. He's like, "Oh wow, I'm going to go to South Africa. They're paying for my plane ticket. And they're going to have me play a few little shows there." He thought he was going to play a few little shows for a couple hundred people, and that was it. Little did he know when he landed, he was welcomed by limousines, motorcades. The police were having to hold people back because there was tens of thousands of fans waiting for him at the airport because he just took like a normal plane and didn't do like the celebrity stuff that they normally do and they have to hide and stuff. It caused a complete riot, and he wasn't playing a couple little small shows. He was playing massive, sold-out like soccer stadiums. I mean, overnight, he went from having little to no money, working construction, very humble, to them saying, "Hey, we actually kept all your back royalties in an account. You're owed millions of dollars." And Sixto Rodriguez proved why he was the GOAT, why he was the greatest of all time. He gave almost all of that money to his kids and his other family members, and he just took enough to, pay all of his bills off and live happy. He didn't even buy a mansion or anything. He just lived in his same little humble home in Detroit until he died. He just died actually in 2023. He was 80-something years old when he passed away. It's just wild to think that, his music was so underappreciated here that it didn't even earn him zero money. But over there, all it took was the right crowd to hear it. And he was hailed as a cultural icon. And that's a great message for us all. You might be the best person at whatever you do, and people around you might just not appreciate it, and you got to do what you love doing for the right crowd, for the right people. If the people in your life aren't appreciating you, go find somebody who does appreciate you. I think that's the real cool moral of the story that we need to gain out of that, is that you're great. You just might not be in your place yet. It's a sad day in Oklahoma when we tell everybody that it's okay to rape women and just attack women all you want to, because today Jesse Mack Butler got all 11 of his felony accounts completely expunged from the Youthful Offender Act, because he did it right before he turned 18. He is now turning 19 years old, and his defense attorney had the audacity to stand up in court today and say, the world is not against you, Jesse. The world is on your side. You have friends out there. We won't hold this against you. You can build your life moving forward. His defense attorney said that in court, knowing that he raped and strangled 2 different girls, like almost killed them. But because his family is wealthy and has connections, he's going to get out of pretty much everything. And the newly appointed DA, the newly appointed district attorney, I'm glad he stood up and he said this. He goes, I will not let this go. I'm going to push this to the federal level. So he's essentially going to try to send the whole case in for federal review to see if the case was mishandled. And that's what I hope will happen, because we've tried the Marsy's Law, we've tried everything else. Something needs to happen because, like I said, Oklahoma is setting a precedent that it is okay to attack its women and nothing will happen to you. Just do it before you turn 18. If there's like a craving you want, you just want to get it out of your system, do it right before you turn 18. Because that's what Jesse Mack Butler just showed us all that we can do. Okay? Like is that really the precedent we want to set? Absolutely not. We should have held him to the highest degree and made an example of, one, if you do this against our women, this is what's going to happen to you. If you do this against our children, this is what's going to happen to you, because they were women and children. And 2, it should have set the example of, like, we are standing on the people's side, not the rich and the powerful side, because that's exactly what happened. Because of who mommy and daddy were, because of his connections with different law enforcement and the judiciary branches there, he got out of everything. And that's what it is. It's being well connected. It wasn't, what you know, it's who you know. And we're going to have to see fat little Porky Pig just dancing in the street because he has nothing on his record. If he goes and gets a job in the future and they do a background check, this will not even show up. Think about that. Now, people around here will know him, but if he moves to a different state and goes to get a job working with children, nothing is stopping him from doing so. Could you imagine if he was a school teacher in another city, another state? Nothing right now is stopping him from doing just that in the future. Tonight, we're going to be telling the story of the journal that was found of biologist Aaron Mercer. To this day, Aaron Mercer's body has never been found. No trace of his belongings has ever been found, except for his tent and journal. So inside this tent, about 40 years ago, they found a journal with a recorder of Aaron Mercer, the biologist that was hired by Yellowstone National Park to go deep into the park and study the deer. If you guys did not know this, Yellowstone Park routinely conducts surveys on their deer and their other animals to see if they need to cull the herd when there is sickness or disease. Aaron Mercer had been called out there for exactly this. He was supposed to go deep into the park and camp there for about a week and study the deer populations, because there had been report after report of strange deer sightings and weird behavior going on amongst the herds of deer of Yellowstone. All they found was the journal and recorder, so tonight we're going to be doing a dramatized version of those findings. This is Dr. Aaron Mercer. I made it here on my first night pretty late. I'm getting set up at the ranger cabin about 15 miles off the nearest trailhead where the strange sightings have came in. This is probably going to be a pretty routine case. If it's cold out, there's a lot of snow on the ground, there's an overpopulation of deer, and they're just malnourished. They're looking skinny and gangly. The reports are saying that it looks like their skin is falling off of them. And I can see that. When they get real skinny, their hair kind of falls off in patches. So we're going to see what we can find out here. Shh, shh, shh. Look, it's my first night, and one already came right outside of the cabin. Look at this. It's really quite beautiful out here. I can see all the stars. You can see the Milky Way. It's just now got that little glow in the distance there. You can see the first stars popping out. It's a really beautiful night. It's day 2, and I just found a really beautiful herd of deer out here. They look completely fine. It doesn't look like anything's wrong with them. I'm going to turn my light on, and hopefully I don't scare them. You guys can take a peek at them. It's night of day 2, and I just had the craziest thing happen. This buck, he just keeps walking up to me. And what's weird is it doesn't look like he's looking towards me. It really feels like he's looking at me, like there's some kind of intelligence. I've moved my position multiple times, and he just keeps walking towards me. So I'm starting to see the strange phenomenon. Some of the deer are looking pretty unusual. Here's a deer that's almost solid black. He seems to be a spike, and once again, just like the others, he's not afraid. It's almost like he's wanting some help. It's that same big buck again. I'm going to go ahead and go back to the tent for tonight. Something just doesn't feel right. So I'm inside the ranger cabin for tonight, and that's probably where I'm going to stay. I've never seen anything like this. Those deer just didn't seem shy, and they keep circling the cabin. I've heard them walking around outside all night. I've heard them rubbing their antlers on the side of the walls. I've been at this for 20 years, and I've never seen anything quite like this. I haven't seen any of the phenomenon where they're talking about the skin looks to be falling off of them. I haven't seen them walk strange or behave oddly, besides the fact that they're just having no fear of humans. They're eating what they're supposed to eat, they're grazing, they're walking, they run when they think they see a predator, but they don't associate humans as predator. And to be this far out in the park and this isolated, this is not normal. I'm gonna peek outside the window and see if they're still out there. It's been a few hours since I've heard anything. There he is. It's the same one as before. He's like a shadow. It's that same big buck. It's just before daybreak. He's been out there all night. He's watching me more than I'm watching him, and he's not blinking. He's just observing. He's just staring. There he is. Every few minutes he's back. It might be a slightly different spot, but he's always there. I don't know how to describe this, but it's almost like he's stalking me. Around 4 a.m., I moved to Ranger Station 2 to the next cabin. It's about a 1.5 mile walk I did in the middle of the night in Yellowstone. No one would ever advise that. But I just got so creeped out, and yet here he is. Just watching. It's the end of day 4. I've called for help to come out here. I've got a walkie-talkie, and I radioed the ranger stations for them to come out here and pick me up. I'm afraid to leave. I've resigned myself to stay inside this cabin until it's over. Today, I saw something I can't explain. I saw that buck walk behind a tree. I've been obsessed with watching him. He walked behind the tree, but he never came out at the other side. It was like he walked through a portal. Mathematically, it doesn't make sense. It wasn't that big of a tree. He never came out the other side. At least not for about 5 minutes. And then what peered at me from behind the tree, it peeked at me. Like some kind of evil child playing peekaboo, it peeked at me. I saw one broken horn coming out of what looked like a human head as it peeked around this corner. And it smiled. It might sound crazy, but right before I turned this video on, I felt like I could hear it in my head. It was talking to me. But not like how I talk, and I wasn't hearing it with my ears. It was like I was feeling it with my body. And it said the craziest thing. It said that it wants me to be a part of the herd, to come live here with them. You hear that? You hear that? That wasn't the same as the others. I looked out the window. Its skin was falling off and its legs bent the wrong direction. It wasn't walking on all fours anymore. It was walking on 2 legs. This is some kind of abomination. This isn't from our earth. God wouldn't let anything like that exist. I can see him. He's just standing there. He won't stop looking at me. Look at him. What do you want? What do you want? Guys, I'm so happy. I haven't slept in a couple days and I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go into the park and I'm going to be free. This is where I was supposed to be the whole time. I don't know why I fought it for so long. Some legends say that the Wendigo took them. Some say that they were SWs, the word I'm not going to say out here, since I live on an Indian reservation. Other people say it was something called the knot deer, and others say he was simply crazy. The story is for you to decide, since we do not have the answers. I personally like to think he's out there living with the herd, being free. This story was fake. I made it up, so now you can go to sleep peacefully. Hey, we're in the daylight. It's not so scary in here. Go follow our podcast. It's called Matt from Nomads on Spotify and Apple Podcast. If you really like this story and you're already on the podcast and you couldn't see the visuals, go to Facebook and TikTok. It's called Nomads Animal Encounter, and the YouTube is Nomads Animal Reserve. See you next time.